have a stubborn, well, I should say that differently. I have a client with a
Uh-huh.
stubborn issue. The issue seems to be stubborn. I was hoping I could get some insight on
Sure.
maybe a different way of how to tackle this, or maybe what could be going on. She's an older lady,
Mhm.
76-year-old.
Okay.
She had a car accident the end of
Okay.
2021. She was a
Right.
passenger. She has some neck problems, I guess bulging discs. Is that what spondylosis is? Um,
Yeah, that actually is the um, yeah, it's like it's a thing that's out, but like sometimes the bones like will slip forward. And
okay,
so the issue with that is that can turn into an autoimmune issue. Like just because of the misalignment of the spine, it
okay.
throws the body into like a little bit of a weird chaos, but that's probably not what you're asking about. But like so
Mm,
go ahead and give me a full layout and we'll go from there.
yeah, well, maybe I should start with like the chief complaint is that she's having humming in her head.
Yeah.
Humming. It'll either be at the top or on the sides or both sides. She does wear a hearing aid in the right ear. I don't know for how
Okay.
long. She has recently had an MRI on her head and it was unremarkable. So, like those
Right.
little tiny, uh, little, I know veins is not the right word, but the little tiny parts in the ear, none of those are kinked up or anything.
Okay.
Um, Back right after the accident, she did have an MRI of her neck, and that's where it said the spondylosis from
Right.
C2 to
Right.
C7, but no acute fractures, no instability.
Okay.
And so I can work on her one night. The next morning she's okay, but then, a couple hours into the day or even an hour into the day, she's um distressed about the humming that she's
Okay.
experiencing.
So let's just talk about nerves for a second, and then we'll talk about like how to address this.
Mhm.
So the issue a lot of times, and I mean, I think you articulated like all the issues that are the potential problems like perfectly.
Okay.
The, in any time like you can think of like the nerves have these like certain pathways, and
Mhm.
anytime there's pressure put on the nerve,
Right.
if there's a moderate amount of pressure it excites the nerve. If there is a lot of pressure the nerve goes to sleep and you'll start to lose like muscle tone. And she, with the humming, you're in the moderate amount of pressure. And
Okay.
so I would say with the car accident, there is like tension on the neck. There's potential like bulging or a herniated disc, a thinning disc. So you have those issues, and those two rope muscles that come down the front. You always kind of want
Mhm.
to look at those for the inner ear, but I think you probably have a little bit of when there's an accident like that, um sometimes even like the tissue on the head, like on the skull, will
Mhm.
get really wound up. And it's funny that you're the very first one to talk tonight, because you know what I was going to do tonight is like, let's talk about headaches and unwind the headaches and go from the forehead, and we're like going to go down the back head and all that. And so you would do some version of that.
Mhm.
A lot of times, even though the accident is like the neck, like things can get wound up in the neck, and then it will start to cause like trigger points up in the forehead. And uh, it's possible that the sternocleidomastoid, or this like muscle right here,
Mhm.
that is the trapezius, the upper part of the trapezius where the neck and shoulders meet. When they're super activated, they can cause a little bit of buzzing or humming in the ear. And she's not having like vertigo or anything like that. She's just got the buzzing in the ear.
Sometimes she has the vertigo, but she hasn't mentioned that
Yeah.
for a couple of months.
Okay, well, good. So you're making progress. So that's very, very good. So you're making progress there. Um, I mean, you can always like work energetically on the ears, the ear canals,
Hmm.
but
Yes.
I would say a lot of times with the buzzing and humming, I'd actually even work on the brain, because
Yes.
sometimes what's happening is the neurotransmitters are like misfiring, and that's the buzzing sound that or the humming sound that they're hearing. Back in like I think it was like the 1950s, they did this thing where they took a bunch of patients that had really bad ringing in the ears,
Mhm.
and it was so bad it was driving them crazy. And a surgeon or a couple of surgeons decided to go in and sever the nerves to the ear. It was going to make the person deaf, but the theory was that it was going to make the ringing in the ears stopped, and what happened was they became deaf, but the ringing continued. Like,
Mhm.
so it's actually not always, and most times, not the ear. So there's either
Right.
like something in the brain is misfiring a little bit, or you have disc issue, and for that I would say pretty high, like C1, C2, C3. Like, I'd really look at those.
Okay.
And even when you're working on the inner ear, there's like the back of the head kind of comes like this, and then there's what the brain sits on that's like this, and there's this little
Mhm.
tiny joint that kind of goes like this. And I'm exaggerating the movement, it's not that much, but there's just this little bit of movement. And with car accidents, sometimes it will like kind of dislodge, like
Mhm.
not like, it's like if you have a bone out in your back, it's like a bone out in your head a little bit, and it can cause all kinds of weird dysfunctions. And one of the ways to access that is through the ears or through the base of the skull. And by going through and treating that area across the base of the skull, going into the ears, treating the brain, and I'd really thoroughly treat the spine, but especially that C1, C2, C3,
Mhm.
and then those two muscles, the rope-like muscles, the sternocleidomastoid. I mean,
Yes.
they are literally the whiplash muscle. Like, it doesn't matter what direction they get hit, like side or front and back. The only difference is that, like, depending on what direction you get hit, they get wound up in different spots. And here I would just say treat the whole thing. So you can use, you're using energy work, go through, and I mean, I'd sweep directly on them, and
Mhm.
then energy essential oil wise, I'd use things
Yes.
like marjoram or black pepper, thyme linalool, something that increases circulation, and is antispasmodic. Another one that's really soft and gentle that could be very good for that is terebinth. Have her just rub the
Mm.
terebinth along the sides on those two rope muscles. And even like what I'll have them do is like take a little bit of the oil and rub it on the spots, and then just keep rubbing it just real gently, not trying to dig in or something.
Mhm.
And it's a way for them, it's not gonna fix the problem, but in times when they're like stressed out or their breathing's off or something, it's a way to kind of calm that muscle down a little bit. And
Okay.
I mean, it works better on kids, but still with adults, I've used it a bunch of times. And it's no magic bullet, but it calms things down. The other thing that I would look at is make sure that, that's kind of the primary thing that I would address, but I would also make sure that her breath is like deep enough, because like when this goes, the next thing is uh, spasms in the diaphragm. And like when you
Okay.
start to get spasms in the diaphragm, like the whole torso starts just going down a bad place. You know what I mean? It's like all
Sure.
those muscles are trying to elevate the rib cage against that diaphragm. And if you really think that it's the little muscles that run along the spine, because the thing with the diaphragm is when the diaphragm is tight, the spinal muscles that kind of hold the vertebrae in place and allow it to twist and everything, they tighten up. And so, like, sometimes you go through and you deepen the breath, but they're so wound up, they don't always release kind of quickly. Um, Litsea cubeba,
Mhm.
inhaled, applied topically, taken internally. any of that will relax those little multifidi muscles along the spine. And so, I mean, I know I've probably given you a little bit to digest here. We'll edit this out and we'll send it to you. Like, well, let's make a note of that. And
Okay.
so we'll edit it and send you a link so you can kind of go through and listen to it again. But I like the brain, the
Thanks.
ears, but you're not necessarily just trying to decongest the canal, the ear canal. You're really kind of trying to work it's called the spinobasilar joint. And it's just this little joint that, goes back and forth, but it can go side to side and it can like rock and lock. And usually like that is more like migraines and seizures and things like that, but usually a little disarticulation, disarticulated joint like that can cause like the buzzing and the weird sensations in the head. So I do that, the base of the skull, like side to side, like the whole back side, and then those first few vertebrae. You should be able to reduce it.
So that doesn't
Yeah,
keep coming back up
yeah,
like the
so that it
following day,
doesn't
like
keep
between
coming back.
hours.
And the other thing that I would look at is because basically you're just gonna have to start like problem solving with her, because it could be a number of things and it could be a little bit of everything. And so you just start going and treating things and just seeing what responds. But a byproduct of whiplash also is very tight jaws, like bruxing and
Mhm.
tight jaws. And so one of the things that's a rule of thumb is you have them, like, basically you have them open their mouth as wide as they can and then see how many fingers they can get in, like knuckles like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And if the jaw is not wound up, they should be able to get their 3 middle knuckles in. But most people can only get the 2.
I
Like
pass. Okay.
yeah, what's that?
I pass. I tried
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So what you can do there is also unwind the jaws, like, and that will take you a little while. That could be from the accident, that could be from adrenal overstimulation, post accident, so that starts to be like multiple things that you might have to look at. But right off the bat,
Right.
there was a whiplash. I would treat it as a soft tissue issue right off the bat. And then if it's not responding, then I would look to start problem solving.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
the odd thing I'm running into is that when I scan that following morning, I'm not really picking up on too much energetically that's off, other than like way more negative chords that have appeared.
Chords, I mean, chords will overstimulate the mm, sympathetic part of the nervous system. And so, I mean, that's possible.
Mhm.
I mean, that the chords are agitating it, but still, if she didn't have the predisposition,
Mhm.
she could hit those chords and that wouldn't happen. Like, so there's still something up there that's off. Is she real, like, does she have anxiety or panic or real fearful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
I
because after the accident and the humming and whatnot, she's afraid that, the
Yeah,
humming is gonna cause a stroke, or she's
right.
gonna have some type of major thing because of this. And so she's very fearful.
So that's the thing that happens with injuries is the person will, I mean, it's just mechanics,
Mhm.
that the person can get really fixated on the condition, which
Yes.
they're trying to manage it and make sure it doesn't happen again, but it also makes it harder to address. And it's almost like you're trying to pry something out of their hands a little bit. They're not doing it on
Yes,
purpose. It's just that's what's happening. And so
exactly.
one of the ways to handle something like that is you can have them, be it with energy work or with the oils, is have them really focus on a problem spot. So say we're doing it with oils. In fact, let's just do it. Let's actually practice this real quick. So pull out, have everybody, let's pull out something like marjoram or wintergreen, hyssop, thyme, terebinth. If you don't have any of that, maybe lavender, something that's a bit antispasmodic, ginger. Okay, I think that's good. Everybody probably has.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. Like, move your arms around and let's see how we're going to do this. Okay, let's do it like this. You're going to do your left elbow. And at first, you're going to inhale whatever oil it is. So you move your left arm around, see how it feels. Inhale with your awareness on the left elbow, like the front, the sides, the back, like the whole elbow. You're inhaling and you're trying to stay as focused as possible on the elbow. Your galbanum would work. You just grab it. Just right there. However. So you're inhaling still on your left arm.
Left elbow, left arm.
I'm sorry, left elbow. Okay, and then pause and let go. Just pause and let go for a moment. Okay, move your left arm around. Notice how it feels. Okay, so you notice it's starting to feel a little different, right? So again, inhale, you're focused on that left elbow still. Long, slow, deep breaths. Okay, and then just pause and let go again. And again, move the left arm around and just see how it feels. Like even compare it to the other side and just go, oh, it's feeling X amount of better, right? How's that feeling for you?
Yeah, it's feeling different.
It's feeling different, right? Okay, so now to address the thing that Heather is talking about, we're going to do something slightly different. Okay, so you're still doing your left elbow, but we just want to see like how much better this gets, right? So you're gonna use the same oil. You're focused on the left elbow. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. You're still doing the same thing. Your left elbow, still taking long, slow, deep breaths. Okay, you're going to let go of the inhalation, right? But instead of just letting go completely, you're going to let go and your awareness is on the whole left arm, not just the elbow. You're not inhaling. Your awareness is just on the left arm. Always start talking. Your awareness is on your arm. You're not inhaling yet. Okay, focus again, left elbow, and begin inhaling with whatever oil you've been using. You're focused on the left elbow specifically. Let go of your focus. Now your awareness is just on your whole arm. You're not inhaling anymore. Your awareness is on your whole arm. Right, just awareness. Yeah. You're just practicing awareness. Okay. I mean, this is a little simple thing, and we didn't do super comparative, but like, how did your left arm feel compared the first time versus the second time? Right. And maybe since we're doing this with Heather, we'll just do it with Heather.
Yeah.
So Heather, like when you were doing this, like when we did it the first time, the elbow feels like, oh, it feels a little different. And then the second time, what did you notice?
It seems as if the focus on the entire arm helped, I guess, relax the entire arm as
Right.
opposed to just the
So
elbow.
so two things are happening here. And you know, like I kind of put a lot of thought in like how to do this like across the board, and we're going to kind of start talking about it. But this is like what something I've done in healings for a very long time, is because I mean, you nailed it. Like the person, because of pain, because of injury, because it's not getting better, they get fixated on it, and then you're doing healing and you're kind of wrestling with their mind to do
Yes.
it, and they're not consciously doing it. Like, you know what I mean? They might be consciously saying things, but it's more of this like unconscious drive to do this. And
Mhm.
so for one thing that you're doing is you're having them like focus and then release, but you're keeping the awareness there. Anytime there's focus, there is a moderate amount of energy that goes in when they're focused on an area. But when
Mhm.
they let go and they go into awareness, that's when a tremendous amount of energy goes into the area, not just from what you're doing or what the oils are doing, but from their physiology, their soul connection, whatever that might be. But also what you're doing is you're training them to like, okay, focus, now let go, now focus and let go, and focus and let go. And so what you're doing is you're training their nervous system to like disengage that focus so that it can allow the healing process to happen. And so even like if you're doing healing, you go, okay, focus on your elbow and go through and do some work, clean the aura, clean a chakra or something, and then go, okay, now let go, but keep your awareness on the arm. And then go through and do some more. At that point, clean their spine a lot, because a lot's just going to come out of their spine. And then go, okay, focus. And after a few times, you're training them to be able to let go so that energy can go in and the healing process can engage. It's a lot like, in the early days for me with meditation, I like they'd say let go, and I was like, okay, I feel fine. I don't feel anything. Like I feel like I normally feel. My eyes are closed. I feel relaxed, but that's it. And I wouldn't have like expansion that would register in my mind. And so the instructions given to me where it was stay awake as long as you can, and then when you're exhausted, meditate, and at that point you'll leave the body and then it becomes easier. Right.
Mm.
So you're literally kind of training the basic chakra to be able to go let go for a moment, and then you do it a couple more times, and it's like you're retraining the nervous system, and then it makes it easier for you to get in there and do healing, and them not to be so attached or so focused on it. So whatever thing is like the thing that she gets really super focused on, have her focus on it while you're either inhaling oils or doing healing, and then let go. And she can completely let go, but I would say the thing that I usually have them do is put their awareness on their forehead and their back head. Like put your awareness on a forehead and back head, because that's just filling the body with light. And then, okay, now focus back on the situation, and then pull them back and go, okay, awareness on the forehead and back head. And you're getting them more engaged. It's more of physical experience that they can connect to. Like it's making it more real in their mind, but you're teaching them to like be able to disengage from that condition.
Excellent. Okay.
So,
That should be
I
helpful.
mean, the byproduct of that fixation is anxiety and fear. And so
Right.
that's why I was asking, like, is she going into that state? Because there's going to be a sleep disorder, there's going to be anxiety, there's going to be fear, there's going to be all those steps.
Yes.
And, you know, trying to address them all independently has an impact. But like if you really go like that fixation is the source. So if you can unwind that, going back and treating those other things becomes much easier. And if you think about like when somebody gets really fixated, they also kind of clinch up and hold in their body a little bit. So they're holding in their spine. And that is a natural thing that happens after a whiplash is you kind of are like, I got to stabilize myself. Life was chaotic. My car got hit. Like, you know what I mean? So you're like, and then it just never stops. And so, you know, unwinding the spine, unwinding some of those spots, and then going back and forth like that will unwind it very quickly, or quicker, I should say.
Yeah, we gotta get past this whole fixation.
I'm glad to
thing,
talk
'cause it
you
seems
through
like
this. I'm glad to talk you through this
Yeah.
more if you want. I'd start experimenting with it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's why for a couple
Yeah.
weeks I haven't been able to get in to ask you. There's been so
Yeah.
many other questions, and it's like we've got to figure out how we can start tackling this another way. Because
Yeah.
most all the things you've said with, you know, the areas, the ears,
Right.
the ear canals, the jaws, the spine, the brain, done all of that. But I really like the whole base of the skull part, and then this spinal basilar joint. I'll look
Right.
that up.
Yeah.
But I think the Terabinth will be really key for her because then that's something she can do, and it's kind of like a self-soothing type
Yeah,
of
it's
thing.
self-soothing, it's very gentle. She couldn't overdo it. If she dumped the whole butter on her body at once, she'd be okay. I mean, it might feel a little weird, but she'd be fine. So
Right.
she can kind of go to town with it and it would be okay.
Now, as for the Litzia cubeba for the spine, is that to apply directly to the spine or just inhale
Actually,
with focus on the
probably
spine?
if she's up to it, I would say a couple drops on water and just have her take it internally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
safety.
easiest. And if she doesn't want to do that, then just lots of inhalations.
Okay. Yeah, because it can be sensitizing to some people.
Yeah.
So-
That one can be. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Wish me luck.
Yeah. And like I said, glad to talk you through things. And so if you have questions, shoot us an email or, you know, jump back on again at some point. But
Okay. Thank you very much,
you're
Greg.
so welcome.